Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back for another video. Today I want to talk about The Last of Us and something that they've decided to include in this next season. And if you caught it in the trailer this last week, you know what I'm talking about. But with the upcoming second season in less than a month now, there was one thing that they decided not to include in the first season that now they're kind of retconning and coming back and decided to include it because it's kind of a big part. Because if you followed along with the games and everything, this is something that was very important to, I guess, the spread of the infection or just one of the hazards of the spread. And with the first season, kind of with the decision to go away from that, and what I'm referring to is the spores. But with the decision to go away from that and go to the tendrils. Now, the tendrils were never a part of the game or anything. They were included in early drafts and everything of the game as part of the key artwork and whatnot. But this is something that they included in the first season. Now, with this second season, they're going to go back to the original idea, even though tendrils are obviously still going to be there because they've already kind of been established. But with the introduction now of spores, if you paid attention or if you played the game, of course, with the trailer that we got here recently, the last full trailer that we're going to get for the second season, there was a scene where Ellie is kind of in this dark area. There's an infected on the ground, kind of growing into the wall, and it's just a couple of frames, but we see little bits of spores in the air, and then we see an expulsion of spores from an infected, from their mouth. And this is also something, obviously, that Ellie is immune to. This is something that was established as in the game as well. And I just want to kind of offer my opinion as far as someone who has, pretty extensive experience with respirators because in past jobs I did hazardous waste work for government contractors. So this is something I hope they kind of establish or something I hope they kind of address in this upcoming season with the introduction of spores. Now, with respirators and everything, this is one thing that always kind of bothered me in the game was, you had Joel and these other people that had full blown, facial hair. And if you know anything about respirators, you have to have a clean shaven face in order for that respirator to make a seal and for it to be effective. And this is just one thing that always bugged me. Maybe it was just, at the time when the game first came out, I was still doing that type of work. So something that was drilled into my brain, something that was, for my own safety because of the materials that I was handling, which, kind of full disclosure, this was chemical weapon contaminated things because of the type of work I was doing. This is all stuff that's, very wide known and everything, these plants and everything that were spread around the country. I think they're all but gone now because they've destroyed those stockpiles. But with that, that is something I really hope they address with this next season because it will continue to bug me. Maybe, I'm kind of, I guess, a snob about it, I guess, because it was, like I mentioned, drilled in my brain and it was for my protection. It's a very integral part of wearing respirators that you have a clean shaven face. So if they introduce people that have these full blown man beards, it's going to kind of take away from the realism of it all. And I think that's probably part of maybe why they decided not to include it in the first season, or just, there was some logistic part that they didn't want to deal with actors, speaking their lines or whatever, unless they kind of dubbed over it and having that muffled sound come from masks. That could be part of it too. It could be have nothing to do with the fact that it was kind of, not believable, but just they didn't want to have to dub voices, or they didn't want to have people have to speak very loudly or whatever it is, or enunciate things that they say with a respirator over their face. So that was just one thing I'm glad they're going to include, but I just hope they do it right to where it's believable and everything, and people like me or former service members or anything like that can be like, well, what the hell is going on here? This is not going to do them any good. But I think with the storyline that they're going to tackle, they're not going to have to worry about that because, the base of the second game, of course, aside from Abby's perspective of it, is going to be focused on Ellie. So we can safely assume that she's not going to have any problem having that seal safely around her face and whatnot, making the respirator effective. But of course, her being immune, she doesn't have to worry about that. But this is also part of the story where that reveal comes to other people close to her that she is immune to it. And I won't, divulge the name of those people. But with that, I just hope that they make it believable and they, kind of put that out there too. Maybe, I don't know. This could all be very just very much me just being a stickler about it, but that was just something that was always silly to me. But I'm very excited about the inclusion of spores at this point because they are kind of an integral part of the infection. They're a consequence or an aftermath of people being infected, or spores, or cordyceps growing on walls and whatnots in secluded areas, and them off gassing those spores and whatnot. So it's just something that I hope is just flat out. I just hope they do it right, that it makes sense and everything. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoy, content like this, Walking Dead, Last of Us, Dexter, I'm trying to expand the channel at this point, trying to come up with other things to do content about, other shows to watch and whatnot. So if you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, consider subscribing, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.